Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. In today's episode, I have some beautiful farmhouse Easter and spring decor DIYs to share with you. It is a 5 under 5 DIY challenge day, which means I have 5 amazing DIYs for you that each cost less than $5. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. If you do like any of today's projects, remember to hit that thumbs up. But let's go make some DIYs. This DIY is actually a Pinterest-inspired / dupe DIY. I saw this scrolling through Pinterest last year and thought, oh, this is absolutely beautiful. I love this. It would be fun to try it. And then I saw it again this year as it popped up in my Pinterest feed. And I thought, you know what? I'm really going to try this time. So I'm using a Dollar Tree cloche. And then these 3 carrots came on a garland from Dollar Tree. Now, the carrots come in the garland like you saw, but they also come in a package. They have bottle brushed carrots. There's so many different options at Dollar Tree this year as far as carrots go, but I just took 3 off of that garland. There was 6 there. Now, I really wanted to freshen up the greenery. I did not particularly care for the raffia that was there. It's cute, but I just had something a little bit extra. This is just Walmart's boxwood, and I'm just going to cut it down to kind of be the greenery on the carrot. I like the look and feel of this much more than I do the raffia. I think it looks a little bit more tame. That raffia sometimes tends to get a little out of control there, but it still looks like a really cute carrot. You can see I just cut it down to size, and I'm just using some hot glue, and I will just push this down into the end of the carrot. It's really easy to switch this out, and I do this same thing with all 3 carrots, so that way they all match. So I'm not going to show you all 3 carrots, but I just want you to know that it's the same process that I do on all of them. Now I'm just taking some twine and wrapping it around here. This is a little bit of a thicker twine, but the thin twine that you get at Dollar Tree would work just as well. And I'm just going to tie these 3 off into a little carrot bundle here. Now I'm going to take some hot glue and put a little strip down in the center of all 3 of these carrots. And then I have another length of twine here that I'm going to place down in the center. And that's going to give me something to use to tie my carrots up with. And you'll kind of see what I mean by what I'm going to do with this here in just a moment. So you just need the twine to come straight up out of the carrots. Now I just took a tag, just a normal tag, and it was way too big for the size of these carrots. So just with my scissors, I cut it down. Then I kind of wrinkled it up to make it look aged and tattered. That's just a matter of personal preference. So if you like that, great. If not, do it a different way. But I just am taking some of my distressing ink or antiquing ink here, and I'm just using a little bit of like the yellowy color on it first, and then just a darker color over the wrinkles to kind of give it, or the little creases. Really gives a fun aged look to it. Now these are just some stamps from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut out the letters that I need. I'm going to spell bunny bait on the little tag here, and so I will be using a couple of the letters a few times, like a couple of the N's and the B's and everything. But what I do is I do the letters one at a time, because this way I can space them out exactly how I want them. I got this little clear stamping block from Dollar Tree, and it's great to do this. Now on Amazon, they have some like click stamps, which is the whole alphabet, and they all click together in the words that you need. And every time I use these stamps, I think I'm really going to invest in those, because these are very tedious. They're the right price point and they get the job done, but they do not store well. And it is very hard to tell what the letters are because they're clear. And so they're not my most favorite, but they got the job done. So now what I'm going to do is use the tip of my hot glue gun to put into the center point of the top of this cloche. And there's already like a little mark there for the top of the cloche there, so it's easy to kind of get the center. And I just push that down to melt that plastic away. And I'm just kind of reaching up into the center of that cloche and can tell that it's not all the way through yet. So I'll just place that center back in. And of course, this is all heated up, and so it does go fairly quickly to get this done. It's pretty simple here, and then that little piece just came right out. So now I have a hole in the top of my cloche, and that's why you'll want a plastic cloche to be able to do this, because this is not going to work with glass. So I just put some twine, or not twine, but on my twine I put some painter's tape, and then I just fed that through the top of the hole there. I did have to use my tweezers to make sure it got through the hole because it was a little bit thicker. I did tie my little bunny bait sign on there, but I didn't like the way that it was falling. I wanted you to be able to read that from inside the cloche, so I just put a little dot of hot glue on the back side of that to make sure that it faced the correct direction. And now I'm just going to tie off my twine here. I want these carrots to look like they're suspended in here. And so you just want to tie them up where the greens aren't so smashed against the top, but you do have a little bit of space underneath the carrots, kind of like they're floating in there. They're tied, suspended in there. And then I cut off my twine, and I have this little finial. You can buy these in a pack at the woodcraft section at Hobby Lobby. I've seen them at JoAnns. And I did stain it with just some antiquing wax, but you could paint it a color if you wanted to match the base of the cloche. I put a little hot glue inside of that, and then I'm just going to press the knot of my twine up into that so that it hides the knot there. I've also seen the one on Pinterest had like a wooden bead that they had threaded the twine through and had the knot of the twine on the top of that. So that would be really cute as well. I just thought it would be fun to use this little finial that I had. And now on the base of the cloche, it looked a little bare in there with just the base, but it would be fine. You could definitely leave it. But I have this Spanish moss, and I just grabbed just the littlest amount. I didn't want it to be, this stuff can kind of quickly take over in a project because it's so like unruly. So I just am taking a little bit here and just kind of smushing that down into the glue. And then I'll give it a little bit of a trim here to make sure that it's not so unruly there. And then just make sure it's nice and tidy. And then I will just slide my cloche onto there and twist that back on. And I just think this makes the cutest little Easter decor, just this little bunny bait, the little carrots kind of hidden in there, you know, maybe the bunny can see the carrots and not realize they're under the cloche. And I don't know, I just thought it was really a cute idea, and I really thought it was fun. I wish I could take credit for it. Unfortunately, I didn't, but I just saw it on Pinterest and thought that's something I think I could try and do. But what do you guys think of it? I think this ended up really cute, and what a cute little shelf sitter or even a tier tray decor item. It is so exciting to be back with a 5 under 5 DIY challenge. We had a couple of months that we took off, but we are back. And this month, our challenge was to do spring and Easter decor. We all have to do 5 DIYs under $5. And I am joined this month by my guest host, Shannon from Shannon's Crafty DIYs. She has been with this challenge ever since the beginning, and she is absolutely fantastic. What you have to do is just click on that link down in my description box. It's going to take you right over to the playlist, and it will play through everybody's videos, and you will get to see all sorts of fun spring and Easter DIYs that each cost less than $5. I love using tin cans to do DIYs with, and I know that they are very popular and they're very easy to get your hands on a tin can. I mean, we all use different types of fruits and veggies. This is a wider can here. It was like a 28-ounce can, so I thought it would be kind of fun to make a little pocket out of this. Now, I just took the label off, and I'm just using a rubber mallet, and all I'm going to do is just pound this down. Now, it looks maybe like I'm pounding quite hard. It's not really. It might take you a minute to do this to kind of bend the shape of that can, especially the larger cans, but just stick with it, and eventually you'll get that bottom completely closed off, and then you can kind of just use your hands like I'm doing here to kind of bend and mold that shape of how you want the top of the can to be. Now I'm taking my Crocodile here. I love this tool. It's linked down in my description box, but I've also recently seen it at Hobby Lobby. I'm using this to punch a hole in both of the sides of the can because I want to be able to hang this. Now, the cool thing about this Crocodile is not only does it punch the holes, but I'm going to put a couple of grommets in either side, and that's going to take away, because we just cut the tin, there's a potential that it could be sharp or anything. We don't want any edges like that on there. And so I'm just going to place that in both sides, and that's going to help it look finished, and that way it's going to look like it's got like a professional edge. You can kind of see here, and then when we have it there, it's just not going to slice anybody's hand or anything like that. It's going to make it safe. So I do that on both sides with this Crocodile, and it comes with all the grommets and everything in this little kit that I got here. I actually use this much more than I ever thought that I would, so it really is kind of a cool thing there. So now that all the grommets are in place, I just decided, and you can finish a tin can, there's several different ways to do this, but in this particular project, I'm just going to paint the entire thing white. I'm just kind of going for a really nice spring feel, something that you could leave out nice and airy, kind of a shabby chic type of look to it. Now I have these little rub-on transfers. They came from Essential Stencils, but I'll leave a link to them in my description box, but don't feel like you have to have these. Dollar Tree has rub-on transfers. Most of the craft stores I've started to see things, or like even like stickers or anything would work. You can obviously use like a napkin to decoupage on here. You could also do print on tissue paper, make your own stickers. The possibilities are endless. It's just the techniques that I'm showing you here. But I really do love this cute little bird that is on this picture, and that's kind of like a postage stamp vibe it's got going on, and it's really beautiful. So I just scraped, kind of rubbed that with that little stick that I have there. It came with one of the IOD transfers, but even just like a Cricut scraper or one of the ones you can get at Dollar Tree, or like a gift card or credit card or something like that. You just want to pay attention when you're doing it on a tin can that you're conscientious of like the ridges that are in the can, and make sure that you rub all of those areas, all the little hills and valleys and everything really good. Now I'm just going to take a brush after I peel the sheet back there, the transfer sheet, and you can see I'm just pouncing this in. Because of all those ridges, I want to make sure that the design is pushed down into each of those. I feel like that makes it look really nice to have all of that texture in the design. And once I do that, I'm just going to varnish it with this little piece of plastic, little transfer carrier sheet that was with it. And then to seal this, you're just going to use some Mod Podge. I just put a little bit on here. You can do whatever finish you want, whether it be matte or satin, glossy, it doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that you seal this in. Even like a spray varnish would work fine, like a clear coat or something like that. Now you can do like a wire handle on here. I thought it would be really fun to do a little beaded handle. I thought that would kind of bring another different textural element in. So I'm just taking some dollar store beads here. These came on like a big hoop, and this is maybe like a third of the amount of beads that I got with it. It's a great deal to buy them that way. And I'm just using some twine to tie this onto each of the edges, and I'll just tie a knot. So all I did was just stick that twine through the grommet there and then tie it up at the top. You could also just tie a knot in the one end if you wanted to, but I really liked the way that it looked to have that twine kind of come up over the edge. These are so cute to display in several different ways. I'm going to just put some leftover florals that I have here from some other projects, just kind of snipping off some little extras that I have to slip in here. You can definitely put all sorts of different things in here for different seasons and different times of the year. It's so fun to change these up. And you could use this to hang with the little beaded handle there, but you could also use it sitting as a shelf sitter where you have the beads draped down kind of in front, would look really cute as well. I think this turned out really beautiful. I really do think it kind of has that nice springy vibe, especially with the type of flowers that you decide to put in it will kind of also dictate the season and the feel that you're going for. But isn't that design so cute? If you guys are interested in these transfers, I will leave a link down in my description box. I am not sponsored or anything. I just happen to really like their stencils. And I think once you kind of break down the price of them, they're much cheaper than Dollar Tree, and they're very, very nice. But I think this turned out cute. What do you guys think? If you watched my Easter Dollar Tree haul, you'll know that I picked up a couple of these bunnies, and I really wanted to make this over into a primitive looking bunny to have a really kind of aged look. And I've never really done a whole lot of the primitive look, so it was kind of new to me. And I was actually watching Lisa from Our Shabby Cottage, and she did one of these last year, and she had the brilliant idea to use this distressing ink on the bunny, especially this brown. There's a brown bunny and a white bunny, and she used it on this brown bunny, and I thought that's genius because it really does age this bunny. Now, if you're not familiar with the primitive look, it is a very aged, old, and like dirty kind of look. So it really does look like this is hundreds of years old is what you're going for. And I know that's not everybody's style, but I really do love the primitive look. I just don't have a lot of it, but I thought it would be really fun to kind of test the waters here. Hopefully I do a good job and you guys think it looks good in the end, but I really this was a lot of fun. I mean, even my daughter came down and watched while I was doing this and was like, this is so cute. It's like, she loved it. So, and she's like 15, so she thought it was pretty cool. So anyways, I'm going over with that distressing ink to kind of age this bunny and have it look very old. Now I know some people have used like Mod Podge and cinnamon even to get that dirty look. You can tea dye like the white bunny or coffee dye or something. So however you want to age it up, but this distressing ink, if you have that, worked really well. Now I'm just taking some scrap fabric that I have, and I'm going to make a little apron for our little bunny, and I'm just going to fray the edges of the apron there of all this fabric here so it just looks like ratted and tattered. And then I cut a long strip here. This is going to be like the straps of the apron. And so you can kind of see down in there, I think I scooted up here in a second for you guys to see this a little bit better, but this is just going to be, you know, like the front of the apron, and those ties go over the shoulder and then tie in the back. So I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue, And that's just going to place those straps down here. Now, you guys, I have a jar of buttons, of all sorts of different buttons, but do you think that I could find that jar? I mean, the primitive look uses like a lot of buttons and a lot of like age safety pins or things. I mean, there's a lot of fun little elements to do with it, but I could not find my buttons to save my life. So I scrounged up what buttons I could find. So they may not be as perfect as if I find my jar of buttons somewhere. Apparently I need to be on the lookout for some more buttons to add. Then I may change these out, but you'll have to let me know what you think of what I end up using here. The apron, when I put on our cute little bunny here, was a little bit long. So I just cut that off to about where I wanted it to fall. And then I will just go back in here and just make sure that I make that look a little shabby there by peeling out the little strings there. Now this is just a little pocket shape that I cut out of some other scrap fabric here. It kind of matched. It had like little polka dots on it. And I'm just going to hot glue this on to have a little pocket there, because we're going to stuff a little something inside of that here in just a moment. So just using my hot glue, I turn this over and place the pocket. But what I do is I end up sticking my fingers in. You'll kind of see here, I push the edges down, but I want to make sure there's enough room for anything that we might want to stuff in the pocket. So I just stick my fingers in and kind of like balloon it out a little bit. So that way you make sure that you can fit anything in there that you might want to. So now I'm going in and putting a couple of buttons on where like a natural button would go with that apron. Like maybe that's how that strap is affixed to this. And so I just go on either side and place those little buttons. Again, if I find my jar of buttons, I may go in and replace. These were pretty basic buttons that I found, but it was better than nothing. But I also thought it would be really cute to go over the eyes with the buttons as well. That way it kind of looks a little bit more like a traditional, what you would see in the primitive look. And then to make sure that I get these on okay, I'm using my little needle nose pliers there. That just helps me go in and get the precision that I want, rather than like, I mean, if I was to do this with my fingers, I'd probably drop the button and mess it up or something. So that's why I end up using my pliers there, which actually worked really well to get these on. So you can see I just put that glue down. I'm kind of letting it dry a little bit so it's not going to go seeping out everywhere when you place that down. And then with that needle nose, set of needle nose pliers, you can just place that button right down there. And I just thought that gave her just a cute little look. Now, since I want to make her really kind of girly, I thought I will do a little bow or something here. So this is just another fabric that's kind of has the same green tones to it, but it's just a striped fabric here. But I just am using my little X-Acto knife here to kind of peel out some of those threads, and then I will just pull down on the threads too, and that's how I kind of fray the edges of it. But I just want to make all of the ribbon nice and frayed. And actually, when I get this done, you'll see here, I decided I want to age this a little bit too. So I'm just running that ink just over this ribbon front and back. And instead of tying a bow, what I end up doing is I just tie a singular knot into it. And I thought that was really cute, because rather than have it be like a traditional bow, it might actually be just tied in a knot, and that might have been what worked when they were making, you know, a primitive doll or something like this. And so I'm just going to take this and glue this just right next to one of the ears there, so it's kind of off-centered, and then the little tails of that bow. And if you want to trim them at all or anything, I mean, do that, but just make sure if you do that you just fray those edges so you don't have any like new edges on it. So one thing I'm going to do now, and I noticed this on a lot of inspiration pieces that I looked up, is some of the bunnies would have little whiskers. And I thought, well, would I sew them on? How would I get them? So on this particular bunny, that nose just lifts up. There's a little bit of glue from Dollar Tree that's holding it down. But I just lifted it up, and then I took the thinnest twine that I could find, that I had even some string or some embroidery thread or something. I just took 3 pieces of it, and I just put those in the glue and then pushed the nose back over the top of it to give her some cute little bunny whiskers there. I don't know, a lot of the pieces that when I looked up primitive bunnies had those, and I thought it really added a fun little look to it. Now I'm just taking a little bit of Dollar Tree greenery here, and I thought, well, this is going to be really cute. Let's just stick some of this little lavender sticking out of her pocket. And then it looked a little bare just to have the one piece there. So I'm just taking off the little greenery that was behind it, and I'll stuff that down there. But I mean, how cute would it be if you had like a cute little heart tucked in there, or a little chick or something? I mean, there's so many cute things that you could do, but even just the flowers were super fun. Now I wanted to put a little rusty paper clip, not paper clip, but safety pin on here. However, I tried to soak some in vinegar to get that rusty look, but safety pins must take a lot longer than the galvanized metal that I've done before because they were like as shiny as could be when I pulled them out. So I'm just taking some burnt umber from Apple Barrel and I'm just getting this pouncing it on here. It took 2 or 3 coats. You just want to make sure to let it dry completely in between each coat because it will kind of rub off. But even some Mod Podge and some cinnamon would do the trick. And if I had had some cinnamon, that's probably what I would have done. Either way, it still looks like a little rusty aged paper. I keep wanting to say paper clip, but it's a safety pin clearly. But I do go in. There was just a little bit of a part of the paint that kind of rubbed off there. So I just went in and touched that up with my brush. But I think she looks so cute. Do you guys think I hit that primitive look or are you thinking that you absolutely hate it? Let me know down in the comments. I just think that she turned out so fun and cute. And, you know, my daughter was there with me the whole time making it and she thought it was so cute. And I mean, that makes it worth it right there, right? That when you do something and your kids are like, oh my gosh, she turned out so cute. And she thought it was so fun. So we need to name her, guys. So I love it when you guys come up with your fun names. So leave me a name for her down in the comments. But I just think she turned out so dang cute. This is more of a hack than a DIY, but it's still a lot of fun and it's really cute. So you should definitely give it a try. So I'm just taking a floral arrangement that I already have. This is one I did last spring and I'm just taking it out of the tin that it was in and put it in something a little more Eastery looking. But this is just a plant from IKEA. You could just use something like that or something you have laying around your house, like a little greenery or floral arrangement. And we're just going to kind of give it a little Easter. We're going to give it some bunny ears here. So this is just a headband from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to cut up the center like on the inside of this headband to kind of peel back this little fur that's on here because we want to get to those ears. Now you could just slip this down in as it is into your plant, but I noticed that when I did that, the ears kind of seemed far apart and they didn't look the greatest. So once I get the fur removed, it's just from the headband I'm removing the fur. The ears, you just keep the fur intact on those. And I cut that in half and then I'm going to overlap. And you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to place a little bit of hot glue here. And then when you glue these, obviously you're just going to make sure that your ears are facing the same way and overlapping that center piece there. That's going to move your ears closer together. And in a kind of a smaller plant like one of these, it's going to make it look much tidier and kind of much more like bunny ears, whereas the other one, it looked a little awkward to me. And so that's why I decided to go to this treble. So this is, just know you could stick it in the way it is, but if you want it to look a little bit better, go ahead and do what I'm doing here. Now this is just going to cover up that blank, like not blank, but the little area that I cut. You can see that on the headband. So we're going to put that fur back on and it's just using a little bit of hot glue around the ears. And I'm just going to push this in and I'm going to do the same thing on the back side as well. So I'm just going to glue underneath to make sure that that fur is all nice and tidy tucked in. This is just covering that area on the headband that we just cut. Now these work so well because the ears have like these nice little like plastic pieces going up to help them stick upright, which is perfect for this, so that way they're not going to droop or anything like that. You can see I just turned the ears over and I'm doing the same thing on the back, just using a little bit of hot glue around the base of those ears, and you just cut a piece of the fur that's going to be big enough to kind of cover that spot. This is mostly going to be tucked down in your plant, so you're not going to see it, but just on the off chance anybody does see it, you don't want any of those like cut plastic pieces there or anything. We want it to look as nice as we can. So then again, I'm just going to make sure that all of those edges are glued down here before we go ahead and stick this into the plant. So once this is done, I'm just going to squeeze the edges together here and just kind of to make it a little bit slimmer. And you just kind of start maneuvering your plant and everything and sticking this down in right in the center. This is just such a fun little touch to bring something that's kind of Eastery in. And I mean, look at how cute those ears are. Now you can imagine they look kind of far apart as they are right there. So if you were to leave them even further apart as the headband traditionally came, they would be even more far apart. So it just depends maybe on the size of your plant, but I just think this is such a fun way to tuck in a little bit of Easter and bring that fun kind of whimsical look in. I love the little gingham check on these ears. I think this turns out so cute and it's such a fun little hack. I picked this little tray up at a garage sale or yard sale, and it looks like there's been several different like DIY projects done with it or something. I mean, the back was one color, the top clearly had these painted stripes on it. So we're going to make it over to be an Easter tray. And I started with giving it a couple coats of a brown paint here. You can do any color you wanted as the base. We're going to use this Crackle finish here to make this have a really fun crackle texture to it. And so whatever your base color is, when the cracks appear with your paint, that's what color is going to show through. So you could do, you know, use your imagination. The end is limitless of what you decide to do. But I really liked this brown color, and that's kind of what I'm going for here. So I just put a thin coat of this Crackle coat all over, and I do the inside of my tray and the outside of my tray. And then the trick is to let that dry completely. Let it sit for an hour or two if you can. And then I'm going in with my top coat, which I'm just using a white. And the trick to this is the reaction starts happening very quickly when you start painting. So you want to be very careful to not go over and disturb the paint that you've already put down, because once that reaction starts happening and you go over it, it starts to like slide the paint off. I actually end up doing that here in just a moment, so I'll show you in just a second kind of what I'm talking about. There is a fix for it, but it's just kind of annoying to have to go over and do that process. So if you can, just work really quickly with your coats of paint here. You can kind of see I'm getting all the edges here, but just once your paint's down, you're kind of done. You don't go back over that area again. You maybe have like a 10-second window to go back over it, but just try not to do it. But I go all over the entire tray. Now see down here, I had gone over it and that paint just starts to slide off of there. So the reaction had started happening. I went back to kind of touch up a little thing, and even with my brush, I'm like, well, what if I do it this way? No matter what I do, it just keeps getting worse and worse. It starts to get clumpy, things like that. You can kind of see. So I'm like, dang it, what am I gonna do? So the best thing to do is stop at this point and just leave it, and then let it dry completely. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go back in with that base color and just go over that area. So you can just see I'm getting that brown, and I'm just going to go over that little spot that I kind of smudged up there. I'll just do the process all over again. So I'll just let that one little spot of the brown paint completely dry once I get that done. And then I'm going to go in with my Crackle coat here and go over the top of that, just the same as before. And then it blends in perfectly. So and then I just go in with my coat of paint after all these have dried. And then it's just going to, and then you just kind of stop and be like, okay, I'm done. I'm watching this making myself nervous. Like, why am I painting more on it? But you just want it to kind of be done. It will crackle. I dry it here, and you can just see it will blend in perfectly with everything. That's what is kind of fun about this process, is it can be forgiving. It's just annoying when you have to do that. So now today's the day, you guys. You guys have been telling me for months now to try this decoupage technique where I use my little heat press or an iron to get my tissue paper design to adhere. Today's the day we're going to try it. So I just take a piece of tissue paper and I cut it a little bit larger than my sheet of paper so I can tape it on the back like this. Now that's because I want my design to be printed as big as it can. So I'm wanting the front side of my tissue paper to not have any tape or anything on it. And I'm just showing you with painter's tape, but you don't have to use painter's tape. You can use Scotch tape, but we're going to feed this through my printer and print a design on it. And so you just want to make sure that all of your edges are completely taped down, that there's not going to be any flaps, because if anything catches in your printer, it's going to tear the design. So just make sure that there's no like loose edges or anything. So it really is necessary to tape it up like that, at least in my experience. So and then we're left with this nice piece that has a tissue paper on just normal paper. And I'm going to feed this through. You just want to make sure you know the orientation of your printer. And I just have a regular inkjet printer. It's not a fancy printer at all. So while that's printing, I'm just taking some Mod Podge and I'm putting this all over my tray, and I'm just making sure I do a nice thin coat of it. And then once I get that on, I'm going to set this aside and let this dry completely. This is totally foreign to me because I've never tried this before, so hopefully everything turns out okay. So now you can kind of see there's a few little smudges from the printer, but it didn't affect my design, so it's totally fine because we're going to take that out actually. And so I'm just kind of going to take this off, and I was able to rip mine or tear mine here, but just be really careful not to tear your design as you're getting this off of your paper there. But you can kind of see how there's a little bit of negative areas there, like the white. So I want this fairly close to my design. So I'm just using a brush with some water on it, and then I'll be able to tear that away, as you can see here, just very delicately. And this is going to give you kind of a raw edge. So it's going to not be like a definite edge that you get with a scissor, like that crisp, clean edge like that, because then you'll be able to see that on your surface. Where if you have a natural edge like this with some like fibers and stuff like this, it blends in so much better to your surface. Now I'm going to place this down, and my Mod Podge is completely dry, and kind of center this exactly where I want it. My hope is that when I lay this down and put this on, that all of those cracks on the paint come through looking like this design was painted on there and it is cracked as well. So I just start using my hand and smoothing it out a little bit, and already I can tell, okay, this might work, because it's starting to kind of like not really stick down, but it definitely is held in place. And so I'm just taking, I have a mini heat press, and I bought this on Amazon. I can leave a link in my description box for you, but a regular iron would work too. This is just nice because it's kind of little and can get right into all these little small areas. And I'm just going to go over this. And you guys have all told me that I'm going to love this process. It's going to work so great. And you guys were totally right. This is amazing. Apparently it just heats a little bit of that Mod Podge up, and it just sets this design down with no wrinkles, nothing, no tearing. You don't have to worry about using any like cling wrap or anything, or saran wrap or plastic wrap, whatever you guys call it. But it works so nice. And I'm just going over all of the edges, just very lightly, because I still don't want to tear my design. So I don't know where this is my first time. Maybe I'm being a little too delicate. I don't know. But I'm just going over all of the edges and making sure that it is completely down and flat and smooth. And as you can see right there up close, that crackle is coming through on that design. So it literally looks like this design was painted on there and that crackle came through. That's what is so fun about using tissue paper, is because of how thin it is. And I love the way that this looks. Now to seal this, I'm just going to go over with some Mod Podge, just very carefully. You want to make sure that your design is completely dry, or you run the risk of smearing the ink. So mine had dried for maybe like a half an hour before I did this project. So just keep that in mind as you're doing this. And if you see the ink start to smear, just stop immediately, let it dry, and then go back in. But oh my gosh, how beautiful is this? This is going to be so fun, kind of set up against a backsplash in my kitchen, or even just like with some cute designs on it, or a little decor on it, I mean. But look at that crackle coming through that design. Like, you cannot even tell that that was not painted on there. I mean, this is such a wonderful looking piece. Do you guys like this process? Have you tried the process of decoupage that I just did? I'm totally blown away at how well that works. So thank you to everybody who's commented now for months telling me to try this. Like, I'm definitely a fan. Are you guys in the mood now for decorating for Easter? I sure hope so, because these were so fun to create, and they definitely put me in the mood to want to get my Easter out and get everything all going in my home. It's been so fun getting to create these Easter decor DIYs over the last few days. I really am in love with that technique that I tried with the Mod Podge and the tissue paper on that tray. It's always like when you try something new, it's scary at first, but then once you try it, you're like, okay, this is actually really simple and really easy. I definitely can see me using that technique moving forward. So also, our little bunny needs a name, so don't forget, if you have an idea for a cute little primitive name to go with our little primitive bunny there, she definitely needs one, because she's adorable and needs an adorable name to go with that. Remember to click that link down in my description box for the playlist for the 5 Under 5, and thank you so much to Shannon from Shannon's Crafty DIYs for hosting with me this month. She's awesome. You guys are going to love her. I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you like the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.